Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Art of MMA. I'm Mike Ginn. That's the mechanic, Brandon Cuttino, back in action for another brand new episode. This week, we're going to be talking about everything that happened at UFC 276. We'll talk about PFL 6 and everything that happened with Kayla Harrison. Then we'll bounce ahead and make our previews and picks for UFC Vegas 58. Before we get to all that, of course, check out the Mechanic Collection, check out the Art of MMA collection, all that great stuff on fightersfirst.shop. Let our apparel be a part of your story. That said, Brandon, how you feeling, man? You were just out in Vegas, not for 276. You went for Money in the Bank, but you got to enjoy some of the festivities and everything.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
Then I feel good, man. My back might be bothering me a little bit, all that
Hungover?
in the plane, but it was still good, man. It was a fun time out there. Vegas, man, was definitely lit. Yeah, like you said, I wasn't really out there for UFC, but I did go to the UFC Fan Expo. I got to meet Holly Holm, got to meet Carla Esparza. I actually saw Scott Jorgensen in there. He was just roaming around chilling. Same thing with like Forrest Griffin. He was kind of walking around chilling.
Does Scott still work behind the scenes a little bit? Because I know he was doing some of that behind the scenes stuff for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really get a chance to talk to him. I just saw him. He was talking to somebody, so I didn't want to step on his toes. But I just saw him. But yeah, man, it was cool. It was cool. I got to do Money in the Bank, and then I kind of bounced back, and I got to watch the last two fights. As they were happening. The co-main.
Did you ride with Vince and them back to the arena, or did you watch it at a bar by?
I mean, I wish, man. I wish I got to ride with Vince and them and Pat McAfee and all of them.
Did you see the part after the show went off the air with like Pat getting like destroyed?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We were there for it all. Yeah, man. We stayed after. We got to watch it all go down.
I feel like it probably would have been a better show live than it came across on the air. It was a cool show on air, but it could have been better. But I think live you probably didn't see like some of like the stuff like we did, like the way it kind of played out.
I'm telling you, man, dude, the crowd was live, man. They were alive that whole time. They were pumped to be in Vegas.
I still think they did almost dirty. I'm just gonna say that. First they buried his ass and then they put him through a table. Also, storyline wise, I don't understand why Theory didn't win the belt, go up and win the belt when they were doing the powerbomb. Because it would have made so much sense if like he's laying on the side and the 7 other guys are all putting almost through the table. He could have just scattered up the ladder while they were all doing that. He could have been like, hello.
Yeah.
But I'm not, they don't pay me the big bucks to write WWE. But if they want to, I'll do that right after our RKO, Brandon.
Yeah. Okay.
Brandon, this week we're going to slim the show down a little bit, try to get back to basics a little bit, talk about the results, talk about the segments. I did put a poll and it's still open for a few more hours tonight. So feel free to go on our social media on Twitter, The Art of MMA, and answer the poll. Kind of want to know what people at home think. There's a lot of different varieties of MMA shows. There's a lot of different MMA podcasts, how they do things. And I don't think a lot of us listen to the fans. We kind of just go about and do what we want to do. So I want to kind of incorporate more things the fans want to see and make them feel more included into the show. So do you want to see MMA news stories? Do you want to see more debate topics where I crush Brandon? Or do you want to see I just try to make Brandon break character sometimes and laugh. Or do you want to see more results and more previews and picks? Now, selfishly, we love doing the previews and picks. It gives us a little bit of a competitiveness to the show. Brandon is currently the lead dog by literally like 1 pick. Like he's got like percentage points ahead of me. But I'm gonna get back this week. It's good. Don't worry about it. It's coming. And then the results and stuff are a big thing of what we talk about. They lead into different stories. They lead into different things. We're going to talk about some of the retirements this week and other things that are involved with the results. So I don't want to spend too much longer on this, but go vote in the poll for us on the Twitter page. Let us know. Leave a comment below. Let us know. We just want to see what you guys want so we can give you the best show possible. Does that sound good, Brandon?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
All right, Brandon, let's jump into the business side of things. Let's jump into the show. We had a couple events last week. Starting off, PFL 6, late replacement against Kayla Harrison. Kaitlin Young stepped in. She tried her best. We also had Sadabu Sai against Rory McDonald. We had Ray Cooper versus Brett Cooper. Magomed Kamirov had a late replacement as well. Pachenko and Fabian. Just so many great fights on this card. Before we get into the results, overall, what you think of PFL 6?
It was cool, man. Like I said, man, Pacheco, she came to bang, and like I said, I'm feeling good about her chances in the playoffs.
Definitely. In the main event, we saw Kayla do what Kayla does, right? She just basically mauled Kaitlin Young, took her down, just kind of. It was a weird stoppage. It's not a bad stoppage because we knew Kaitlin Young wasn't going anywhere, but at the same time, she wasn't exactly hurt yet. What do you think of that stoppage? It's kind of weird.
Yeah, right? I mean, if you don't say like the stoppage was a little early, but it was just because Kaitlin Young she wasn't really protecting herself because one arm was kind of tied up. But I mean, the shots they weren't really that powerful. It
reminds me of when Roy Nelson had Kimbo down and he was just going.
Yeah.
Because eventually you can't move, right? You can't. She wasn't getting out of the position.
Yeah. So I mean, you could have made wait longer. She maybe was gonna burst up or something like that. But I mean, it just looked like she wasn't going anywhere. So the ref stepped in and stopped it.
Yeah, Kayla Harrison obviously on her way. I mean, there's a couple women that could pose a challenge to her in the playoffs, but obviously Pachenko is one of them. But this whole division has always been set up for Kayla, so she's rolled through the previous couple fights. She went to decision, wasn't her best performance in the first round. The second fight of the season obviously destroyed Kaitlin Young. So it'll be interesting to see what she does in the playoffs when they get to that level. But over the co-main event, me, you, and Dan, we all three of us went 2-1 on this card. All three of us lost on the co-main event because we all picked Rory McDonald to take care of business against Sada Busai. And I think it was Dan that kind of said, you kind of got to watch out for Sada Busai's like length and his way to keep distance. That was a weird fight to score too, because even the judges and the announcers were like not sure. Like they thought McDonald might have done enough to win because of some of the attempts, but Sai's the one that got the takedown. Sai's the one that did a little bit more damage. Do you think it was a good decision? And what do you think of that fight?
Yeah, no, like I said, I really thought that Rory McDonald would have the advantage of taking him down, and then just controlling him that way. But he wasn't really able to take him down. Like if you listen to the commentary, that's what Randy Couture said that Sai was doing at Extreme Couture. He was working on his wrestling defense, being up against the cage and in that same position, and it paid off for him. He put in the time, he put in the work, and he got the results.
Now, so Sai now is like, so here's the funny thing. So we fast forward a little bit earlier in the card, Magomed Kamirov, who didn't fight previously in the season. This was his debut in the season. He had a big knockout over Taylor, right? And gave him 6 points.
6 points, yep, quick 6.
But Sai actually has the tiebreaker because I guess he fought twice, or however they want to look at it. And Kamirov's still waiting down the outside and missed the playoffs. It's really weird the way they did that this year. There's a couple things. So let me pull up the welterweight real quick. So, for instance, Kamirov actually only had 5 points, but he should have had 6, right? Because it was a first round finish. So I don't know if he was deducted a point because he didn't fight once earlier in the season. I don't know how that worked.
No, they wouldn't take a point. No, they wouldn't take a point away for that.
But he only got 5 points.
Was it in the first round then?
Yeah, he got TKO in the first round. So that doesn't make any sense. Ray Cooper, who lost to the first time, had 0 points coming in. I don't think he had -1 as far as I know.
Yeah, he did have -1 because
-1. Okay, so he gets 6 points. So he's only got 5 points.
Mm-hmm.
So because he had the big finish over Brett Cooper in the card, great bounce back win for Ray Cooper. He looked fantastic. He looked fast. He came in on weight this time versus the last time when he fought Neal, but too little, too late, right? So you got Sai who gets the edge. He gets the spot. Umlatov, who had his first fight this card, gets the knockout over Salawi. He got the knockout in the first round. So he gets 6 points, which Magomed Kamirov didn't. I don't understand that. Sai and McDonald, along with Liao, who also got another win on this card, all in the playoffs. But like I said, I don't understand why Magomed Kamirov only got 5. It just doesn't make sense. And he fought an opponent who came in literally the day before, because Zhao Zeffirino was supposed to fight, and then like all of a sudden he didn't weigh in, the other guy did, and nobody really said much of anything as far as that goes. So very weird as far as that goes. We just talked about Kayla. She's going to be she's actually the number 2 seed this time, because she got the finish. She actually avoided Pachenko, who got 2 6 points for double like knockouts. So she doesn't have to face her till the finals. So that matchup actually was saved because Kayla did get the finish. And then you got Jindrova and Kolznik, who got another win over Vanessa Mello. So it's very interesting how we got to where we got going into London. It's cool that Kayla's going to be able to fight in London because that's where she won one of her gold medals as far as the Olympics goes. Pretty cool card. I know you're going to ask me about Abigail Montes. I know that, but that was another interesting fight. I'm going to ask you about that, though, because MMA judging. How does somebody win? And let me be clear, Abigail did not win that fight. She was competitive the whole fight, but she didn't win any rounds, in my opinion. How does somebody win? Maknakina won 30-27, lost 30-27, and won 30-27. How does one judge see it so completely different than the other two?
I told you, man, it's all about where you're sitting on the cage and what you're like, subjective to, man.
I know you were busy, but did you have a chance to see that fight?
No, I actually wasn't able to see that one.
I figured you might have missed
we were there, but I completely missed all the prelims. Like I just watched what was on the main card because we were kind of resting in the hotel room, so I was able to see the whole main card. I just didn't get to see the prelims.
Yeah, I figured you would be able to go back and watch the main card. The prelims were kind of crazy. I mean, like I said, a lot of finishes on that card for PFL. Exciting night. Poor Abigail, 2 split decision losses. But that one wasn't really a split decision loss. I think if anybody saw it, you're like, all right, she was competitive and she's getting better. You see her getting better. And Maknakina was the same one that went the distance with Kayla. Like, she's a tough fighter. Yeah. I'd really be interested to see if Abigail sticks with PFL and next year how she comes out, like with another full season. But she's only like 22, 23 years old. So she's got a bright future. As far as everything else on the card, just like I said, stoppages almost every single fight except for the McDonald fight and the Abigail Montes fight. And the Kolznik fight. The Kolznik 30-27 over Vanessa Mello all across. That's crazy too, over a veteran like Vanessa Mello. Like Kolznik's got a really good story with the whole Ukraine thing, and she's got a lot of momentum. Fans love her. She brings a lot of energy to the cage. So it's going to be really fun watching some of these playoffs with the women and the welterweights. Did anybody, before we move on to UFC 276, did anybody in PFL 6 really stand out to you? Like great performance?
I told you, man. I already said it, man. Larissa, man, she's what's up, man, dude. I like how she's just like, yeah. I mean, she was doing it last season as well, but man, lately, man, like I said, we've known her for her jiu-jitsu, but lately, man, she's been going out and just knocking people out.
I mean, she knocked people out last year too. She was knocking people out last year too.
Yeah, exactly. As I said, she started with it last year, but I'm saying she's still just been doing it this year as well.
I'll say this: she's definitely also looks slimmer. Like she looks like she's in better shape than she has the last couple seasons.
Yep.
She doesn't look like she's struggling to make the weight cut like she has like last year. Like this year, she looks like she's strong and like slimmer. Like she looks more muscular. And that's dangerous. Like, I think Kayla better definitely stick to taking her down if they fight this time, because that's not a matchup I think she wants on her feet. So that is PFL 6. Moving on, the event that everybody was talking about, UFC 276, drew a lot of eyeballs. It was a stacked card. Headlined by Adesanya versus Cannonier. We had Max and Volkanovski 3. A lot of other fun fights on that card. You got Alex Pereira, Sean Strickland, Barberina, and Robbie Lawler, who ended up being fight of the night. The craziness of Pedro Munoz and Sean O'Malley, Jalen Turner, Jim Miller, and Cowboy. So many great fights. We'll get to some of those. We're going to start right off in the main event, though. the StyleTaker, as we're now calling him, coming out to the epic Undertaker entrance with Vince and crew in the stands because they all came over after Money in the Bank. I'm sorry they didn't throw you in the limo with them, but but they came over after Money in the Bank. Ironically, Tony Khan and Jim Ross were there as well. So there was some wrestling in the house. Israel Adesanya comes out to the Undertaker music theme hat and urn that has Jared's name on there. If you look close enough, Jared Cannonier's name is on there. I think the entrance was more spectacular than the fight. What do you think?
I mean, I know people want to say it's a boring fight, but it's all depend on what your take is, man. Like me, I understand the strategy. I understand the technique of the fight. So to me, it's always kind of interesting when you're watching high level, saying this what this is high level. Our stuff, man. A lot of people just want those slobber knockers, those bangers. Not all fights are going to be like that. Especially when you get to a high championship level and you yourself aren't trying to get knocked out, man. Yo, Jared Cannonier is no dummy. He ain't trying to get knocked out. So I'm saying he was taking his time trying to pick his shots, but it's just is he just too good for a man like that?
And the same could be said for Izzy. Izzy's not trying to get knocked out. His coach came out and said it too. Like, I'd rather my fighters win and not get hit than to be in some war that makes the fans go, wow.
Yep.
But it does kind of bring the question to me. We saw this with Yoel Romero. We've seen this a couple times with Izzy. He is a product of who he's fighting. You know, like, Blachowicz wasn't the most exciting fight either because mostly Blachowicz laid on him. But with Whitaker kind of, the second fight was kind of boring because Whitaker was being careful because he got caught the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so that was on Whitaker. Like, Whitaker didn't take as many chances. Whether you thought Izzy or Whitaker won the second fight is a matter of MMA judging. But it was close depending on how you weighed certain things and time control and stuff like that. But the first fight, Whitaker brought the fight and he got knocked out. Vettori brought the fight, and that was a fun fight for the most part. Paulo Costa, didn't fight at all pretty much and got stopped. But I feel like a lot of the criticism against Izzy isn't really fair because he is a counterpuncher. He is he does take the center of the cage, but he's one of those guys that he's going to fight based on how you fight. He's going to defend himself how you fight. Now, I'll go ahead and throw this out there because it's kind of like what happened and what's going to happen next. Alex Pereira, comes over from Kickboxing World. Had a couple wins. His first fight in the regional scene, he lost, but other than that, he's basically knocked everybody out. Sean Strickland was fighting a decent strategy, but got caught. That left hook, that unbelievable left hook that Alex, Pereira has finished so many opponents with. Like, there's highlight reels of his left hook. Like, if you're gonna look for one thing, and even Sean Strickland was like, "Yeah, I was looking for it. I saw all his punches." Well, you didn't see that one because the left hook is what, I wouldn't even look at his right hand. He throws so much of a vicious left hook. Like, I would be like protect me from that side. But Alex he's catapulted himself into next. Like, we know what's next for Adesanya now. Like, Alex, in the post fight, even Alex was like, you wanted this, people wanted it, whatever. We know what's next. Stop bullshitting. Let's go. Let's get it on. Like, we know what's next. We know what this is. We know why Alex Pereira was brought to the UFC, right? Like, you said it, I said it. We all knew why he was here. He got fast-tracked a lot faster than I thought he would get there. But you fight a guy who was presumably next in Sean Strickland, and you dominate him and destroy him, which he wasn't doing, by the way. Sean Strickland had a decent – I don't think I've ever seen Alex Pereira look uncomfortable in a fight. Like, I've seen some of his kickboxing. I've seen, obviously, his UFC and MMA stuff. He didn't look comfortable in this fight at all. Like, on his feet, like, he just did – I don't even know if you want to say nervous energy, maybe, environment, but he just did not look comfortable. Whatever Sean Strickland was doing, it was not what Pereira expected. Like, he just didn't look comfortable. But when you got a guy that dangerous, that one punch can just end the fight, it changes everything. He comes from that glory world. He comes from that world of your world, of being that guy of, excitement. and you don't have to worry about Adesanya taking him down. So what happens when these two guys, who, by the way, we all know the story, he has 2 wins over Adesanya in kickboxing. What happens when these two guys fight in the MMA cage? Is it going to be him stepping into Adesanya's world, or are we back to a level playing ground?
To be honest with you, man, I really don't know. Because I remember, like, if you go to the second fight where Pereira did knock him out, but because they're wearing smaller gloves, Adesanya really was piecing Pereira up. Pereira was just able to take some shots, but I don't know if he'll be able to take shots from 4 rounds gloves. Like, I know a lot of people will think that the smaller gloves will kind of better Alex because he has that power. But then again, though, but if you look at their last fight, really saying Adesanya really was piecing them up, making them miss, moving around, until he got caught. So I mean, I really kind of don't really know what to expect. I just think you could really see the same thing of where maybe Adesanya is piecing up because, he is quicker, faster. I think he does have better defense, but it's all about if the 4-ounce gloves will kind of make it better for him where he can hit Pereira and then Pereira can't take those shots, or will Pereira be able to walk him down and catch him, with the power shots.
Now, there's 2 things that I think about. One, Alex is actually probably the same height and size as Izzy. Like, you don't have too many fighters that match up like 6'4", like lengthwise.
I think they have the same reach, but I think Pereira's an inch taller because I think he's 6'4". I think Izzy's 6'3".
But you looked at Jared Cannonier, and Jared Cannonier looks so much smaller than Izzy in that cage. And you're talking about a guy who used to fight at heavyweight. Like, he looks smaller than Izzy in that cage. And when you have Izzy fighting somebody that's eye to eye, I think that's one thing. But does Izzy still have the advantage? Because when they fought years ago in kickboxing, for all intents and purposes, Izzy was a young pup. Like, he was on his way up. He was a brand new fighter, really, a couple years into the sport. Whereas Alex is a few years older than Izzy. Does Israel's youth help him also in this fight?
Yeah,
you mentioned the speed.
Yeah, that's really, but like you said, in that second fight, like I said, Adesanya was catching him, he was piecing him up, but like I said, but just Alex was able to take his shots back then, but I don't know if he'll be able to take his shots now since they're using 4-ounce gloves. He might be put to sleep this time if with 4-ounce gloves.
Well, like I said, we know who's next. He jumped all the way up to rank number 6, taking Strickland's spot. The other people have all already either lost or are involved in other things. Actually, all 5 people in front of him have already lost to Izzy. Whitaker twice, Cannonier just now, Vettori, Brunson, Costa. Of course, Costa's fighting the returning Luke Rockhold in August. So that'd be fun. And then, hell, if Izzy's got time, I think he's about to jump over to WWE like everybody else right now. Maybe join Valerie Lareda, join Logan Paul. He said he actually wouldn't. He wants to do it part-time. He grew up a big fan. That's where the entrance came from. He didn't know Vince and them were going to be in the audience. He just grew up a huge fan of wrestling, Attitude Era, stuff like that. So he actually said, yes, he will be in WWE one day, but he'll be it as a part-time, just something doing to have fun.
He'll show up at WrestleMania, like all the big stars do.
Hell, I'd tune in to watch him show up and do like a match at WrestleMania. They say Tyson Fury's about to come back too. It's going with some of the crossover stuff. There's going to be a lot of
Tyson Fury, Big Show. I don't know if I really want to see that again, even though the Big Show is in AEW now.
No, he fought Braun.
Was it Braun? I thought
it was Braun Strowman in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, so was it going to be Omos and Tyson Fury now?
I mean, it'd be one way to get my boy Omos on TV some more. I'd love to listen to MVP talk against Tyson Fury. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Over in the co-main event, what everybody kind of came for, definitely the more exciting fight. Alex Volkanovski left no doubt, erased all questions of who the best featherweight in the UFC is. He dominated Max Holloway for 5 rounds. After the fight, somebody asked him, and I guess now that the third fight has happened, it's not an excuse anymore. He let people know that after the second fight that was so close that people thought maybe Max won, evidently USADA knocked on his door at like 4 a.m. and woke him up for a drug test randomly that like messed up his whole day going into that fight. He never made an excuse. He still won that fight on the judges' scorecards, even if we thought he lost. and actually finished that fight pretty strong. But, you know, this just comes out as like this guy is untouchable. And now he's so untouchable in that division that there's more talk about him going up to fight either, you know, Charles or Islam for that big fight in a two belt situation at lightweight than there is any of the contenders, whether it's, you know, I was just pulling this up, you know, the entire top five outside of Josh Emmett, who probably has never, I think he's never had a shot against Volkanovski.
Nope.
There's nobody really next unless you want to give Emmett, who's now number 3. Obviously, Faber, that's his guy. He's like, you know, banging on the door trying to get Josh Emmett a title shot. I will say it's kind of ironic that it's Faber who's gotten more title shots than anybody to be saying the UFC is somehow doing somebody dirty when it comes to a title shot. Because he's gotten a few handouts as far as title shots have gone throughout his career. He's earned it because he's, you know, had a legendary career, but kind of ironic. We know Kattar just fought against Emmett. You know, Ortega and Yair are fighting soon. There's really nobody left unless you want to give Arnold Allen a chance. He's dropped all the way down to 5, which I think is kind of crazy. Bryce Mitchell's still coming up. So maybe is now the time, Brandon, I'll ask you, is now the time for Volkanovski to try to do a lightweight fight since the contenders are kind of still figuring themselves out?
I mean, to me, Josh Emmett is either should be Josh Emmett or should be Arnold Allen. Really should be next. But I mean, he can't jump up now because there is nobody who's the champ unless you're going to have Islam wait some more, and you're gonna have Oliveira and Volkanovski fight for it. But I don't see Islam waiting because he thinks he's fighting in like October or something.
Yeah, I think Dana's pretty much already said it's going to be Islam and Oliveira in October. Though, funny enough, Oliveira wants another fight that we've all seen all over social media. He wants that Conor fight because he wants the money.
Yeah,
he said he gets to cut the line against everybody else. Why can't I pick Conor? Why can't I make the money off Conor like everybody else is making the money off Conor? Ironically, you hear Conor clap back at a lot of people. He even clapped back at Fiziev this week over the axe kick. But he hasn't said a word back to Charles Oliveira. And I find that very ironic because I've never seen Conor bite his lip against anybody. I don't think he wants that Oliveira matchup, especially with Oliveira's grappling. But I don't know. I think Oliveira versus Volkanovski would be a fun fight. I think their grappling could balance each other out. I think Oliveira's gotten better on his feet. He can take a shot. We keep thinking he's getting finished a lot of fights, and he somehow finds his way back against Gaethje, against Chandler, finds his way back to get these wins. Poirier. I think Volkanovski and him might be a bad matchup for Oliveira, but I think Islam and Volkanovski would be a monster matchup that I don't know who would win. But I don't know. Any thoughts on that before we move on?
I mean, we shall see what happens. I mean, I'm down. I'm
Either
down.
one of those matchups kind of stand out to something you really want to see against Volkanovski.
I mean, I have more desire for Volkanovski moving up than to see him fight Henry Cejudo.
Henry Cejudo, who Sean O'Malley said was fat and drunk, running around challenging everybody backstage.
I mean, apparently him and Aljamain Sterling had a little talk as well, I guess. There's a video of them talking outside somewhere.
You know what's funny is Aljamain is the only one entertaining him. Like he's done the YouTube videos and they've done the face-offs with Cormier asking him questions and they've been in each other's houses. And I feel like that's the fight that's going to happen because nobody else is really entertaining Henry Cejudo. I think Aljamain, after the Dillashaw fight, I think that's next. I don't think anybody else is entertaining him. They're kind of just like, haha, you're in the background, stay over there. One question before we move on to the other fights. What's next for Max? Like, what's left for him? Because he's lost the title fight now 3 times. He's not going to get another shot anytime soon.
Yep.
He fought. He's going to hate himself in the morning because he's fought differently against Volkanovski than he fights against anybody else. Anybody else, he comes out, he doesn't care if he gets hurt. He doesn't care whatever the case is. Against Volkanovski, he fought careful. And when you're careful, you get hurt. And that's what happened. He got his eye busted open, a bad cut. He had to fight all fight long. By the way, props to that cut, man. for even keeping a fight going. I thought the fight was over. Like, props to the cut man who kept that fight going. He's going to give Stitch a run for his money. I forget his name at the time, but do you remember his name?
No, I didn't even really see who was in this corner. I wasn't really kind of looking.
I know he's like the big time UFC cut man now. I just can't remember his name, so I apologize. But man, he did a great job on that cut to like at least keep it kind of under control, so Max could finish that fight. But yeah, what's next? Like, who would he match up with at this point?
I mean, until I got to take like a year off, man. Just let his body heal up. You know, took a lot of damage. He's still young. He's only 30. You know, maybe it's time for him to finally go on his honeymoon with his wife, because he still hasn't done that. So, like I said, man, I just let him, you know, take some time off, heal up, relax, and then we'll see him in a year or so.
I think there could be some fun fights, but I think now he's the gatekeeper. I think, you know, you look at a Giga Chikadze versus him. You look at some of these up-and-comers that want to jump into the top 10, top 5. I think he's the guy you got to go through. I think Arnold Allen, if he wants a title shot, maybe he has to go through Max type thing. But obviously, I don't think we're going to see Max and Volkanovski 4 anytime soon, if ever. If a guy like AJ McKee ever makes that jump to the UFC, I could see him and Max doing a fight to see if like AJ could get a title shot. Kind of the way they did with Chandler getting like a number 1 contender type fight. I could see that as too. So, elsewhere on the card, we talked about Pereira getting the win over Sean Strickland. Man, like I said, Strickland kept him uncomfortable. He kept him uncomfortable until he got caught. And when you got a guy that could put you out with one punch, right? Barberena and Robbie Lawler. Robbie came out strong early. Barberena just kept peppering away. I found it hard to see the stoppage, though, because I know Barberena had him hurt, but Robbie's lasted through so many wars. Do you think it was a good stoppage?
Yeah, man. It's like we talked about with the Kaitlin Young fight, man. Remember, the ref's job is to protect the fighter. Remember, Robbie Lawler has been to a lot of wars. There is damage on him. There's tread on the tires. There you go.
I know what you meant.
You know, so it's like, man, yeah, you remember Robbie Lawler from 5 years ago, but that's 5 years of a lot of damage coming now. Save the guy now. That way you don't have to worry about it later.
Yeah, no, like I said, I think it's a good stoppage. I just think it was just you've seen Robbie weather that storm before, but like you said, he's not that young kid anymore. So, the weirdest fight of the night, Pedro Munoz and Sean O'Malley. I'd like to get your thoughts on this because I know I'm probably going to be more with the populace and you'll probably defend them. But before the eye poke, earlier in the fight, Sean O'Malley hit him with a low blow. But if you saw the replay, it clearly hit the lower part of the abdomen. It didn't hit the nether region, if you will. Unless maybe the heel grazed the cup. It was pretty much a toe kick to the lower abdomen that he called a low blow. Now, Pedro Munoz had a good strategy against Sean O'Malley, a lot of leg kicks. He was probably winning that fight up until the point when it was stopped.
If he was winning that fight.
Yeah, if he weathered the storm all the way to the end, I think Pedro Munoz would have been the winner. The eye poke, which I didn't get poked in the eye, you didn't get poked in the eye, we got to kind of take the fighter's word for it, was so unusual that it screamed out that he was looking for a way out. Now, afterwards, the doctors have come out and said, well, you know, he had this messed up and this messed up. That's why he couldn't open his eye. I thought two things. One, I do think he was kind of looking for a way out. Like he was looking for a disqualification because I don't think he wanted to go all 3 rounds. Same thing. But it comes from the low blow earlier. If he didn't have the low blow earlier where he kind of faked like he was hitting the nuts, then I think I would have taken more credibility to the eye poke. But 2, he didn't take – Herzog kept trying to give him the full 5 minutes. He's like, no, I can't see. I'm done. And he didn't want to take the time to even try to recover the eyesight. He didn't want the towel in the eye. He didn't want anything else to try to help him out to continue that fight. We saw later Jared Cannonier got poked in the eye, and he was like, I don't care. I'm good. Let's go. I'm trying to win the title. I felt like he was looking for a way out. I already see your face telling me different. What do you think?
Yeah, man, because I saw your tweet, and I was like, man, like, I was like, dude, this is a bad take from you.
That warms my heart. Brandon pays attention to my tweet.
It's a bad take. Dude, like, yo, like, that's the thing I'm trying to tell you, man, dude, not everything is the same with fighters. Like, not every eye poke, not every groin shot, not every torn ACL, MCL is the same. You'll see fighters that will fight with broken hands. You'll see fighters that can't fight with broken hands. You'll see fighters that's fighting with an ACL torn. There's these guys, but boom, their knee is done. Their knee is done. Everything is different because you don't know the damage, of it, like or like how severe it is. So I'm saying he got poked in the eye. He couldn't open his eye. It doesn't matter how much time you had. You even saw the next day. He took a photo with Glover Teixeira. His eye was still closed. It never opened. So it doesn't matter if he took the 5 minutes or not. He knew. The doctor knew. That's why they stopped it.
The doctor only stopped it because Jason said that he can't open his eye. He won't. He says he can't fight. The doctor actually said give him more time.
Even I remember the one time I think it was with Cowboy Cerrone when he had his eye. It was he couldn't open up. They had to stop the fight.
Yeah, but they stopped the fight. He didn't choose to stop the fight.
Well, they had to. It's the same thing. It's the same thing here. They got he's trying to say, man, let's say you didn't get poked in the eye. I didn't get poked in the eye. But you can just tell though, everybody's coming out saying he had to show his medical report for people like you who are doubting the man, saying he wanted a way out when he was winning the fight. That's what I understand people say. He was winning out. He was winning the fight. 2 judges gave him the first round. He was winning.
I think medically, yes. It was a good stop of the fight. You're not judging you talk about somebody's ACL tears this way, somebody's ACL tears, but you also have to look at the heart of the fighter as well. Like Thiago Santos fought through 2 torn legs and kept going.
Yep.
Jared Cannonier got poked and he didn't even take. He could have been bad. It didn't matter. He just kept going.
No, but maybe
you also have to look at the heart. No,
but that's because maybe that eye poke wasn't that bad.
You look at the Cowboy Cerrone. Cowboy wanted to continue, and the ref stopped the fight. If he went the full 5 minutes and Jason Herzog said, "No, he can't see. It's over." That's not him deciding. But it was Pedro Munoz who said, "I can't continue to fight." He was the one that said, "I'm not fighting anymore." And that, I think, is why a lot of fans and a lot of MMA, look, it's not just me. A lot of MMA fighters have said the same thing. And Mr. Undefeated Sean O'Malley, even though he has a loss on his record, running around doing the and everything else, it looked bad. It was a bad look. Whether it was real or not, it just looked bad.
They look bad to me, man. The guy is smart.
You are a sympathetic soul.
No, man, dude, it's the thing, man. Again, fighter to fight. Is he saying there's a guy who cares about his health, can't see. He's not going to compromise himself and get beat up more. Saying you guys want to see blood and guts over here. You want to see people get battered. You don't care about the fighter's health. No, exactly.
All right. Anyway, on that, leave a comment below. Also, I don't think you're going to leave a comment. I was right last week. They didn't do it. Prove me wrong. Leave a comment. Let me know. Jalen Turner dominant over Riddell, guillotine. One fight I want to talk about on the card. There are actually 2 fights I want to talk about before we roll on to our previews and picks today. Jim Miller and Donald Cerrone both threw kicks at the time. Cowboy got caught. You're not getting out of a Jim Miller submission. That's done. But that was the end of Cowboy's career. He laid down the hat and the gloves. Jim Miller let him go first on the mic for a reason. Real quick, and we'll take some more time in a later episode to kind of look back at Cowboy's career, because I never really believe he's done until he's done. But he did lay down the gloves. He said he doesn't love it anymore. He wants to go do some Hollywood and stunt work and acting work and stuff and make some money, which, by the way, more power to him, because Cowboy's given his life to MMA. So please go have a good post career. Real quick, thoughts on Cowboy's career, first ballot Hall of Fame?
Yeah, man. Yeah, like I said, Cowboy Cerrone is one of the people that I really was drawn to when I first started watching MMA. Like I say, WWEC days. I've been a fan of him ever since then. His fights with their little rivalry is really what kind of got me going. But yeah, man, like I said, I've always been a fan of Cowboy Cerrone. Like I said, ever since WEC days when he was on there, when he was on the show Tap Out, that they used to have and everything like that. But yeah, man, saying he's just a guy who was always down to fight. Like I said, just hats off to him. Like I said, I remember the first time when him and Jim Miller fought, I actually was rooting for Cowboy, even though Jim Miller was a Jersey guy. But
I'm about to say, is that against your religion? Are you allowed to root against Jersey?
Yeah. So, but like I said, just Cowboy Cerrone, man. He was a real one.
Now, I was a huge Cowboy fan to the point where even when they fought in Fairfax in 2012, I basically stalked him in the hotel. Not really, but I did see him outside in the car and reached in to say hello. Exchanged some great conversations with his dad at the bar. That was obviously, people know the story. That was the same night or same day we actually got the ball rolling. Me and Eric met for the first time and led to everything that led to Art of MMA. But, I've been a big Cowboy fan. And for a long time, WEC, the fights with Benson Henderson, he was a champ in WEC, never got gold in UFC, which is a shame. Always got to the top and just couldn't do it. But he will be a Hall of Famer, if nothing else, because he set the standard for work ethic. Like 6 fights in a year was nothing for him. Like he just kept coming. So shout out to Donald Cerrone. Thank you for everything. Looking forward to what you do next. I would also love to see that guy do some commentary stuff because he's hilarious on some of these fights when he does chime in from time to time. Ian Gary with another big win. Duplessis over my boy Brad Tavares hurt my soul. I did pick Munoz over Hall. He did kind of just make it a boring fight, but you know what? 30-27, never was in risk. Mm-hmm. Uriah Hall shouting out the fact that a black belt couldn't make a blue belt tap out, but Uriah, that's big talk considering you lost. If you don't like it, do something about it. You didn't during the fight. Don't talk shit now. Like you didn't. My girl Macy Barber, shout out to the future. She says Shevchenko is showing holes. Macy, I don't think you're on that level yet, but great win over Jessica Ai. Jessica Ai also retired as well, that one. She's had a long career at MMA. And we've talked about all the people transitioning over to WWE. Jessica Ai threw it out there. She wants to be the female Undertaker, and she wants to sign with AEW or WWE. What do you think of that?
Your girl, she's going to end up like Felice Herring. She's going to sign a nice big deal with Bare Knuckle, and that's where she's going to be in.
I was going to ask you about that later. I was going to see like what you thought about Felice going over Bare Knuckle after she was done with MMA.
That's where they all go, according to you, man. I wouldn't be surprised if I see Cowboy Cerrone with them as well.
And Jeremy Stevens.
He's still not there yet. With the PFL.
I couldn't help it. Hey, he's got some time now. He ain't in the playoffs. And then finishing off, your girl Jessie Jess took the loss by armbar in the first round. When will you ever learn to stop picking Jessie Jess?
Oh man, she usually is good, man. She
wins every fight. You don't pick her.
She's on a 2-0 skid. I should have won with Pereira, but I'm going to go with Jessica Rose Clark.
Next time, stick to your gut. And who knows? Some of them might have a future in PFL too, because they're talking about adding a flyweight division and a men's bantamweight division. So might be go BKFC or PFL. You never know. They're throwing a lot of money to ex-UFC fighters. All right, Brandon, you ready to do what we do best and get out of here today?
Yep.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the previews and picks. Your lead dog. That's right. I'm pointing over there. Mr. Cuttino. He's percentage points ahead of me. I'm coming back. I made a little ground last week. I'll make a little bit more ground this week. UFC Vegas 58, aka UFC on ESPN 39, whatever your heart desires. Rafael dos Anjos versus Rafael Fiziev. Big time main event. A lot of explosiveness there. You also got Cal Barallo versus Armin Petrosian in the co-main event. And then, of course, we'll make our fight picks as well. Brandon, I will start with you. Main event, Dos Anjos versus Fiziev. Assuming that Fiziev can watch out for the axe kick that Connor's telling Dos Anjos to throw, what happens in this fight?
I'm going with RDA, man. I think he just battle tough, man. That dude will fight anybody and everybody. Just like how we talk about with Cowboy Cerrone. I mean, he's just there, man. He can do it all. He can strike with you. He can grapple with you. He can wrestle with you. I think Fiziev, he does have the striking advantage, but I think RDA will be smart, probably use his striking to get it to the ground, make it a grappling match, tire Fiziev out, and he might be able to get a stoppage and maybe the championship rounds, 4 or 5.
I think you said the key word, tire him out. I got Dos Anjos too. I think Dos Anjos is obviously the veteran. I think he has the more experience. I think he has the more all-round game. I think Fiziev is basically, kickboxing. I don't think he's going to, he tries to do his matrix moves. He tries to do his kicks and his punches and highlight reels. You saw Bobby Green stretch him 3 rounds, and Fiziev looked tired as could be at the end. You saw, was it the Takasi fight, Diakisa fight, that, he looked tired at the 3rd round. Yeah, he won both those fights, but he looked really exhausted when those fights ended by the time of the 3rd round. He dumps his take in the 1st round. Dos Anjos is not going to be tired in the first round. He's not going to be tired in the second round or the third round or the fourth round or the fifth round. If it goes anything, I mean, if it goes into after the third round, I think Fiziev is completely done. He's never been in those deep waters before. I don't think this is a good look for him. He's got to get people out in the first couple rounds, and Dos Anjos is too tough. You're not going to get him out in the first couple rounds, and plus he can mix in the wrestling and do other things. Now, I think it's going to be easy night for Dos Anjos. I really do. I think first, second round, I think Dos Anjos is going to get the win, whether it's like sub or TKO from ground and pound or something like that. I think this is obviously, to me, easy fight for Rafael Dos Anjos. Well, a lot of people forgetting that lightweight picture. Don't forget that former champ. He's right there waiting. He wants another shot. Co-main event, Cal Barallo versus Armen Petrosyan. I'll tell you right now, I made the mistake of picking against Barallo last time. I didn't give him it's not that I didn't give him credit. I just thought he had a very tough matchup. But he proved me wrong. Who do you got in this fight? Tell me why.
I'm going with Cal Barallo. I'm going with the natural. Like you said, man, his last fight, he looked sharp, looked good. He got the job done, and I think he's a better fighter than what's he call himself? Superman over here? Yeah, Superman. Petrosyan. So that's what I'm going with.
I'm taking.
I'm sorry. Plus two. I think he has the advantage on the ground as well.
I think I'm taking Barallo too. I'm taking him because of that. Yeah, I think Petrosyan has his only loss is a knockout, a flash knockout. His split decision was another thing where he kind of he won, but he walks into a lot of punches. He has a puncher's chance. He can definitely put Barallo out. Both guys are one-loss fighters. Both guys have a lot of upside. But I think Barallo's the more all-around fighter. I think if it goes to a grappling game, I think that's all Barallo. But I think Petrosyan is dangerous. I will say this is going to be a fun fight. It's definitely going to probably be, in my opinion, be better than the main event. It's just two guys I don't think people know who they are. And I think a lot of people are going to know Barallo, whether he has the glasses on or off. I think a lot of people are going to know him after this fight if they didn't know him already.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just with what we were talking about with Petrosyan being dangerous, his strikes per minute is 7.56, but he absorbs 3.39.
Yeah, like I said, he leads with his face.
Yeah, so like you said, while Barallo, his per minute landing is 3.66, but his defense, he absorbs only 1.7. So he doesn't really get touched.
Yeah, Petrosyan, every fight up until his last fight, which was a split decision win, was knockout or get knocked out. He got knocked out once. He knocked out everybody else. He goes for the highlight finish. He goes for it all. And almost
86% of his wins are by KO or TKO. So like I said, he's doing that.
All of them except for the split decision. The last fight was the first time he went to decision in his 8-fight career. Yeah. So it's going to be a fun, explosive fight. It's going to be a battle of styles, much like the main event. I just think in the main event, I think Dos Anjos is just levels above Fiziev. But I think Barallo is going to be a level above Petrosyan. So I agree with you. I'm taking Barallo in that fight. Now is the magic time. A lot of other fun fights on that card. You got Silva de Andre versus Nurmagomedov. Jared Vanderhaar versus Chase Sherman. Johnson versus Malarkey is going to be a fun fight. Cavillo versus Nunez. Zabibi versus Chakois. You got the other Shevchenko versus Courtney Casey. Cody Brundage versus Tresean Gore. Onama versus Armfield. And Nchukwu versus Robertson. And Lawrence versus, I'm going to butcher this one, Kakhramonov. Tell me what your fight pick to look out for is on this card.
All right, so I'm going, man.
Are you hesitating because I stole your fight?
No. Okay. I'm going with actually, which fight did you go with?
I chose Cavillo Nunez fight.
Nunez, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I wasn't gonna go with that one.
Mr. King of the ladies fights.
Exactly. I'm gonna go with the other ladies fight. I'm gonna go with Shevchenko versus Casey. So I'm a little shocked by this one because the odds have Shevchenko as the favorite, but it's on a 3-fight losing streak.
Yeah, but she's fighting Courtney Casey, who's 10-9.
But Courtney Casey, she won the last fight, and Courtney Casey has been in some tough fights where like her fights they could have been either or, like how we always praise Angela Hill. On this fight, I'm actually going with Courtney Casey. I think Shevchenko is going to take an L, and then she's going to get her walking papers from the UFC because like I said, I think she's like lost like four of 6 or 4 of 7, something like that.
4 of 6, but you got to look at the losses for her too, because she lost to KGB Lee, which isn't a bad loss. She lost to Chukagian, who's a title contender. She lost to Modafferi, who's a longtime vet that's messed up a lot of people. And then she lost to Casey O'Neill, who's arguably next. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's a bad look to lose 3 in a row, but when your sister is who she is,
but hey, man,
you get a little bit more leverage.
But wait, man, you're gonna say Casey O'Neill, who's like what 7-7-0, like she's had 7 fights. Well, Courtney Casey has 19 fights over here. She got the experience. I mean,
it's your pick. I'm just playing devil's advocate when you said that Shevchenko would get cut. I don't know who's going to win this fight. Actually, I think it's a great fight, fun fight to watch. But I think I can see why Shevchenko is favored, obviously with the bloodline and her record versus the other record. Like, yeah, I mean, but look who Casey beat. She beat Juja. That's not a big name, She lost to your girl Robertson. She lost to Aldridge. Like, I think they both have good and bad losses. I think it's going to be a fun fight. I mean, I respect your pick on that one, Mr. King of the Ladies Fights.
I'm saying
you might be right. I hope you're wrong, so I can make up some ground. It's the only way I'm going to make up ground this week because we got the same fight picks for the main and co.
Yeah, I mean, I already know who you're going to pick in your fight.
Do you?
Yeah, of course I do. I know.
How do you know that?
Because I know you, man.
They're both level fighters, just like you just did.
Nah.
You don't think they're on the same level the way, like, one's had a layoff, the other one struggled?
I just think I just know who you're picking. I think I just know who you're picking.
I don't think you do.
I think I do.
All right, so my fight pick is the other ladies' fight, Cynthia Kavia versus Nina Nunez, a.k.a. formerly Ansarov, obviously Amanda's wife. I think this is a fun fight on paper. It's nice to see Nina back in the cage. She's been, kind of on mommy duty a little bit since the marriage and stuff like that. Cynthia Kavia has been struggling with weight. You never really know which one's going to show up to the cage, but when she's on, she's on. Now, you talk about a fighter that they lose, they might get cut. Cynthia Kavia might be that one. She's lost to Chukagian, Andrade, and Lee back to back, kind of similar to Shevchenko. Yep. But she struggled with the weight too, which obviously doesn't do any favors in Dana's eyes. But that said, before that run, she was very exciting, very up and coming. I think with her back to the wall, first of all, Nina's not on Amanda's level. They may train together, they may be, partners, but she's a good fighter. She's not a great fighter. I think Cynthia Kavia, when she is on, can be a great fighter. So I'm taking Cynthia Kavia in this one. I think, sometimes you got to fight like a Mexican, okay? Just because I do a show called Crossing Borders doesn't mean I always favor the Mexican fighters, okay?
Yeah, that's what I thought you would pick.
Man, all right, fine. I'm just kidding.
No, yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to sit there and I'm trying to make a comeback here. I'm not going to do that. No, I think Cynthia Kavia has her back against the wall, and she has to come out and get this win. It doesn't hurt Nunez to lose to Kavia. So I'm not saying she's coming out to lose, but I just think there's levels to this, and I think Kavia is a more exciting, more all-around fighter. I think I can see her getting like a second round rear naked choke finish or something like that. She needs to get back to using some of her grappling and her wrestling. She's been in some firefights, and that's not good for her. She needs to get back to the ground. That said, Nunez is like a black belt in jiu-jitsu, I believe. So it's going to be a fun fight. It's wrestling versus jiu-jitsu. So, any other highlights on that card before we get out of here?
I mean, you got Michael Johnson on the card. I almost thought about picking his fight, but I mean, he just had one.
He's got a tough matchup with Malarkey.
Exactly. That's why I kind of stayed away from it.
And also, you got Vanderrot and Sherman, who are both like Sherman just avoided being cut. Like, he got cut and brought back, and then they had the whole thing with the weight and the sickness. Vanderrot's on a losing streak too. Whoever loses that fight is probably gone. So you got a lot of fighters fighting for their jobs on Saturday night. It's going to be some fun stuff for the fans. I like watching Trayshawn Gord. Him and that Brundage fight's going to be fun. And Chuck Wu versus Robinson, I cannot believe is that low on the card. How is that the second fight on the card? That needs to be on the main card. Yeah. How is that fight that low on the card? I don't get it. That's crazy to me. I feel like by fight night, that card that would be moved up. And then you're talking about fighters that a lot of people don't know and want to watch. I'll tell you right now, Zahabi versus Turquoise could be one of the fights of the night. Keep an eye on that one. Both guys have a lot of upside. Both are like, I think 10 or 8-2 and 11-2. So a lot of good fighters on the way up. Good stuff to watch on Saturday night. Well, that was a long-winded episode, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a comment below. Let us know about some of the format changes that you want to see. We don't want to keep changing all the time. We want you guys to know what to expect, but we do want to include more of what you want. So make sure you either leave a comment on social media, go vote in the poll, whatever the case is. Just let us know. We want to give you the best product that Brandon and I can give you week in and week out. We do this for us, but we also do it for you. We do it a lot, for the fans, give them a chance to hear some of our opinions. And sometimes Brandon's right. Sometimes I'm right. Right now, he's more right than I am. I can be humble. I can admit that. It hurts, but I can say it. But yeah, leave a comment. Brandon, any final thoughts this week?
All right, guys, just like, subscribe, and share it, man. Let the people know. Let's keep spreading the word.
Sounds like a plan. Ladies and gentlemen, head over to FightersFirst.shop. Get the Mechanic Collection, get the Art of MMA Collection, support the brand, support the show. And like I said, let our apparel be a part of your story. We got some new stuff in there from the Bulldogs recently. Always working on new collections, new stuff coming up. So always stay tuned to the site. Follow the social media. I will let you know that more of Art of MMA stuff will be on the Fighters First social media than the Art of MMA, because we like to try to kind of streamline it a little bit so you can kind of see everything in one place versus having to go to all the different channels. So I'm trying to kind of put more stuff on the main channel than just the Art of MMA channel. But the shows will always be on Art of MMA. But if you want any of like the extra stuff that we do, follow Fighters First. Just Fighters First on all the social media, and then on Instagram, fighters.first to get to everything. And then, of course, follow the Mechanic. All the links in the description. Let him know that he's wrong every episode. Do me a favor. Make me feel good about myself, because, man, he's giving me self-esteem issues.
Yeah.
Anyway, for the Mechanic, Brandon Cuttino, I am Mike Ginn. This is Art of MMA. We'll see you next week. We're out.